So I have moved a grand total of about 5 yards, and I can tell the problem still hasn't gone away. So with having brought the revs up to warm the engine through using the choke, the brakes are pretty much locked on. As soon as I turn the car off, pump the pedal a few times, restart it and let it idle and tick over, it's fine. I can move backwards and forwards until I've pushed the pedal a few times or I've used a little bit of revs. So it's still doing the same thing. It's still pulling the brakes on when the revs go up, because as soon as you rev it and then you lift off, you're creating a massive vacuum and it's just banging the brakes on. So not sure what I need to do next. Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. On this episode I'm going to continue to drink tea from my nice branded Automotive Tales cup, and we're going to try and sort the brake problem again. So I am back working on the Land Rover, and the one bit I didn't do was separate the master cylinder from the vacuum servo, and look what's here. There's the adjuster I was looking for. However, that is seized solid, so I'm going to just try something, which I guess is technically a bit of a bodge, but I'm going to put some washers on here, reattach the master cylinder. It has the same effect of spacing out the input to the master cylinder here, which should give me the slack I'm looking for to stop the brakes coming on. However, I am at home and all of my spare parts are at the workshop. So I've got to go to Halfords and see if I can find myself some washers. So out in the mighty Mazda to get myself the world's most expensive set of washers. £11 for a set of washers. There's a good reason I call it Halfords. And so, there we have it. That tiny little washer you can just see there between the master cylinder and the vacuum servo has fixed it. Drives absolutely fine. Woohoo! So, we're moving. The brakes are not seized on, but the brakes do work. So I'm going for a little drive around in my village, and this is not me jumping around in Star Trek style on the Enterprise. This is actually a very, very bumpy road. The perfect place to test a Land Rover. So what is it like owning and driving a Land Rover 90 V8? So the first thing I probably need to talk about is nomenclature. Sounds very boring, right? Essentially, everybody looking at this will probably assume it's a Defender. It's too new to be a series Land Rover. It's neither a series 1, 2 or 3, but it is not a Defender. So you'll notice I've started calling it a Land Rover 90 V8. So before they brought out the Disco, there was only really one Land Rover model, what's now known as the Defender. But before they had a second model in the range, it was just the Land Rover, and it was either a 90 or a 110 or one of the special chassis lengths in between. So this is one of those cars. It is post-series, it's not a Series 3, but it's not quite new enough to be a proper Defender. So it is just literally a Land Rover 90-inch V8. Simple as that. I may well mistakenly call it a Defender at some point in the future. Feel free to shout at me in the comments below, because it is not a Defender. It is just a Land Rover, and I've run out of road. So while I could probably continue along down this footpath, it's probably not the wisest thing to do. So let's see how it turns around. It's actually not too bad. Try not to back into the farmer's gate. He might not be too impressed about that. Right, carry on back down this bumpy, muddy road. So I need to address a comment from an earlier video where I mentioned that the Land Rover had very, very short ratio axles. Now this was because the garage had marked up high and low, probably because they were suffering the same brake problem as I am, and had realised that in what they thought was low box, the car would barely move. It's running very, very slowly. Then in what they thought was high box, it would run fine. Turns out the other way around. In low box, it was running fine because it had enough torque to overcome the brakes. In high box, it didn't, and so you had to use lots of revs to get it moving, so it sounded like it was very low geared. I have now realised everything they've marked up for me when they went through the car was the wrong way around. Having put the gear knob back on at the end of the last video, I realised that the high and the low designations were the opposite way around. So I'm now in neutral on the auto box, because it's a bit like unlike a normal Land Rover, being this is a Range Rover auto box. So neutral on the auto box, I can select neutral on the transfer case and then into low box. So we're now in low, into drive, and first, second, and we're basically almost straight away into top, doing about 10 miles an hour. So this is how it was driving before, obviously with a bit of hesitation because of the brakes. And that seemed like it had very short ratio axles, because you dropped it into high box and it just didn't move at all. It felt like you needed loads of revs to even do 5 miles an hour. So if I now stop and bring it to a stop, into neutral on the transfer case, into what's marked as low is actually high, into drive again. That's much better. We're still in first gear, probably doing about 15-20 miles an hour. So definitely found my high box, definitely moves at a more suitable pace for the road. So hopefully that doesn't mean we need new axles, but I might need a new spine after driving down this road. This is fun. You can see why people like driving Land Rovers on muddy, bouncy roads. I'm such a child. Ow. This is great. So, what is it to conclude? Well, it seems to be running okay. We're lacking some important features, like I haven't got a temperature gauge, which does worry me slightly. Well, the engine has been gone through, so it should be in fairly good condition. We shouldn't be struggling with overheating. I'd like to know for definite it's not overheating, because it's a Rover engine. Yes, I know you're going to bleep bloop in the comments. It's only the K series that had a problem with overheating, but you know, it's still a big old Rover V8. And so I'm just hoping it's running fine, because I have no idea. The only thing I really know about is the fuel gauge, which goes down very, very quickly when you're driving, I've noticed. But then it is a 3.9 litre V8, so what the hell do you expect? Other than that, it's actually not too bad on this bumpy little bit of road. There's a few bumps and knocks and rattles. There's definitely a bit of a squealy belt at the front I need to address. It's just a tensioner that needs tightening up. I think they put a new belt on when it went for its MOT, and it just now it's slackened off a bit. It needs tightening up. Wow, some big potholes here. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, and that's about it. Little beast. Sounds like it's going really quickly, and it's really not. It's like all noise and fan V8, and things knocking. Something is knocking back there, but I think it might be stuff that's in the boot, but who knows? Boot, trunk, flatbed, whatever you want to call it. Oh, hello. No, this gets a bit tight. So you need a small Land Rover for a old village. No, just gonna miss the wall. Go on, Jesus, that's tight. So that's all for this episode of Automotive Tales. I'm gonna go and continue enjoying mud plugging. See you next time. Oh yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that sort of jazz. And if you want to, you know, make a donation to my Patreon page so I can afford some spine surgery, that would be great. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. So, what is it like driving a Defender 90? It's not a fucking Defender. Try that one again, shall we?